Welcome everyone, I'm Bonita from Pennies to Dollars and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm very glad that you are all here with me today. As we talk, I can hear my cat trying to destroy the little bit of a tree that I've put up so far. So hopefully you guys are not dealing with that. We put up the tree on Saturday to try to get her used to it. We had it up last year, no problem. She did unwrap a few of the gifts, but she left everything else pretty much the same. I put the tree skirt down today. She has a thing about blankets, and now she's in there trying to roll up in the tree skirt. I haven't even dared to put any ornaments on the tree yet or any presents under it, so wish me luck. We are going to talk today about what it looks like the rest of the year and what it's going to look like possibly going into the next year. I am a daughter of Depression era parents who were born in 29 and 31. They raised me and my three brothers very much the same as the way that they were raised. They saved money. They did a lot of self-sufficient practices. Things that were purchased in town were very well thought out beforehand. I share some of the recipes in my two cookbooks, 50 frugal recipes when cooking on a budget and 50 more frugal recipes. These are recipes that I still use today all the time. In fact, I'm constantly pulling these out to make a meal at our house for just my husband and I. I put my favorites in these two books because they're the ones I use the most. Now I don't have to sort through my recipes to find them every time. I can just grab my cookbooks. But they're on Amazon. If you're interested, they make a very good addition to your kitchen to save money and to pass on some of those generational recipes that might have been lost along the way. So I just got my property taxes in the mail and they went up $200 overall. That may not sound like much to some of you that are in some other states or live in the city and have a higher tax rate. But when I think back to just a few years ago, that my overall taxes were about $500 and now they're $964 altogether, counting my farmland and my house and things like that, personal property taxes. I'm just thinking, wow, that's almost double to what it used to be. I just retired about 4 weeks ago. I am living on a very minimal budget, but I planned for this ahead of time. I've been living like this for the last few years to make sure that I could make it, and that is what I'm still doing. So as I moved into retirement, there were some things that I could cut from my budget that will help with that extra $200 that I owe. For instance, gas. I immediately could take off like $100 to $125 a month for gas that I'm not going to need to be going back and forth to work. Also, there's those little snacks you pick up here and there. Most of the time, mine were like $1 coffee at McDonald's, but even so, I dropped that back $50 and left myself a very minimal budget if I want to grab something if I'm in town. For the month of November, I spent about $1. So, I mean, that tells you how much I'm really getting out right now. I'm one of those people, I can stay at home every day. I can find things to do. My to-do list and wish list of things I want to do around the house is huge. Most of them cost nothing to do, like dusting a room I haven't been able to get into for a while, going through some things that I haven't been able to go through because I was working. Just this last week, I pulled out all of my little scent warmers that have those candle melts, checked the bulbs, plugged them in, saw if they all worked, that kind of thing. That I had them all sitting. I knew maybe one of them didn't work, but I didn't know which one. And, just little things like that that you just don't have time to do when you're working all the time. They're on the back burner, and that doesn't cost me any money to do those things. And I'm perfectly satisfied entertaining myself at home. I'm able to cook from scratch, no stress, able to keep my house clean, keep my dishes done, keep my laundry done, all of those are just such a blessing that I don't have to try to work them around my work schedule anymore. So that's what I've been up to. But as I go along every day, I always have my eyes wide open, looking for ways that I can save money if it's possible. And a few weeks ago, I shared with you that I had made my apple butter loaf that's from my first cookbook. And I made that to take with us to Texas, and we parked our camper down there, and I took food with us to make and to eat along the way. Well, when I was mixing up that recipe, I could have sworn I had nutmeg in my hand. The containers were the same. But after I dumped it in, I looked at it and I was like, that is not the right color for nutmeg. Oh my gosh, what have I done? And I looked and I actually had ginger in my hand. And I had put in a teaspoon and a half of ginger, and when you're making recipes, it's not really feasible to try to dip that out. You're going to be dipping out some of the other ingredients. And I just went ahead and put in my nutmeg, left the ginger, zipped my lip. I thought, okay, we're just going to continue. I'm not going to throw out all these ingredients. Surely it'll be okay. So I just didn't say a word. When I took the first bite, I thought, okay, I think this can pass. I don't think anybody will know. My husband ate it while we were in Texas. We actually had some left when we came home and finished that. And I made 2 loaves, which is why we had some left. And I asked him just yesterday, so we're now like 3 weeks past the time that we've eaten it. And I said, did you notice that I messed up that recipe? He said, no. What'd you do? And I said, well, I actually put in ginger when I should have put in nutmeg. And then I went ahead and put in nutmeg, but I wasn't about to throw out all of the ingredients. And he said, it tasted fine. He said, there's gingerbread, and it was kind of a holiday recipe. So he said, I don't see why ginger would have hurt it any. And, when you're making those recipes and you mess something up and then you just panic, I've been in places where I just started over. I just dumped the whole thing and started over. Let me know if you've ever done that. But with costs being the way they are, with me trying to save money, with me being at home now and being retired, I was willing to take the risk. I thought, I'm not throwing this out. I've messed up some recipes in the last few months. I was able to doctor them up and fix them. We didn't waste any food when I did that. And it happens. It happens sometimes that we mess something up. We read it wrong. We measure it wrong. We grab the wrong ingredient. We forget an ingredient. So I just decided to just, forward on and make this bread. And he said it was absolutely fine. He never noticed. Now, I said, if I would have told you before you ate it that I messed it up and put ginger in it, you might have been sitting there thinking, I think I can taste a hint of ginger. But I never said a word. He never noticed. He said, I might have been noticing the ginger had you said anything, but since you didn't, he said, I didn't notice a thing. So I just want to encourage you as we move into this new year, as we move into the holiday season, if there are places to save that you normally wouldn't have saved, things you normally would have thrown out, think twice before you do that. Think if there's a way, if you can fix that situation, use that item, reuse that item, repurpose that item before you throw it out. My goal is zero food waste, and I work really hard to make sure that everything is used as much as possible. Once in a great while, we will have something that will go bad, but I have been really diligent about that over the last year, and we've made huge strides in not tossing anything out. I also wanted to encourage you. There is a sealant that looks about like this at Dollar Tree, and it costs $1.25, and you can put it around your windows. And I do this every single year. I live in an old farmhouse built in 1907, and every year my house will settle to a certain degree, and I will have some leaks, some gaps, some cold air that blows in, and I will get one of those. And I love them because they have a cap. You can squeeze it out. You can put the cap back on. You could squeeze it out again later. It's not one of those that just totally plugs up and you have to throw the whole tube away, and it spreads really easily. And I can put that around my windows and places that I found have some drafts in them, and it really helps come the winter season. Now, this one, my husband, I asked him to pick it up at the Dollar Tree. He picked this one up at Home Depot. This is technically just for sinks, tubs, things like that, tile. So I just wanted to share with you that that has been a lifesaver for me with this old drafty farmhouse. And I also take all of our old socks, I stuff them inside of another decorative type sock if I have one, and make draft stoppers. And I absolutely love those. I have some old Scooby-Doo socks. I have some things like that, some old toe socks from the 80s. And I stuffed those and made them into decorative draft stoppers. So if you have a bunch of mismatched socks, people always are like, what do I do with these? I hope the other one will show up. It never has. Do I just throw them away? That's one of the things that you can do with them. Also, when I grew up, if I had a sore throat, mom would put mentholatum on my throat, tie a tube sock around my neck with a safety pin, and I would sleep like that. And by morning, magically, my sore throat would be gone. That was one of the home remedies we always did. So we kept our mismatched socks to use around our neck, especially if they were thick and soft and long, like a tube sock or a tall calf sock. We use those. My kids will tell you they spent many a night with a sock around their neck growing up because they raised them the same way. So those old socks can come in handy for different things. I've heard people say they use them to dust ceiling fans and put them on over their hands. I've had people say they wear them for gloves because they can't find their gloves to scrape their windows in the morning. And if you can see behind me, I still have a bunch of snow. We got 10 inches of snow on Saturday, which is still continuing to melt. So it is very cold here in Kansas. But think twice before you discard something. Is there another use you can find for it that will keep you from buying something else? That is always worth your time to give it a second thought. We had a very middle of the night meal a couple of years ago at Denny's, when my oldest brother, was in very bad shape, and we had spent a lot of time at the nursing home with him. And my other brother that was with me, when we went to Denny's at like 2 in the morning, we hadn't eaten all day. He said, they have a $4 menu. And I'm like, are you sure? And he said, I've traveled all over the country on a motorcycle. They have a $4 menu. He said, you have to ask for it. They won't tell you about it, but they have it. And I said, I don't know if that's still the case. He goes, I tell you, it's the case. So when the waitress came to our table, my brother goes, we would like your $4 menu. Her face was just like, tell all, her face was like, oh my gosh. And she's like, okay, I'll get it for you. She sneaks it back to us and kind of hands it to him under the table, just one of them. And there was hardly anybody in there, but you could tell they have it, but they don't really like for you to know about it because it's kind of one of those hidden secrets. And so he was like, does anybody at the table want to look at the $4 menu? We're like, oh, you're making a scene. And we all looked at it, and it was big breakfast. It was the things you would have paid normal price for on that $4 menu. It was amazing. And so I learned something new that night, that Denny's does have that. So if you travel around the country like he does, and you go by a Denny's and you're wanting breakfast and they're open 24 hours, ask for that $4 menu. And I guess you can be discreet or not. That's up to you, but they do have one. You just have to know about it. So I am expecting January to have price increases. I don't know what you think, but I saw this last January. I saw things increasing last January, and most of them went up and didn't come down. My dad always said that about property taxes. They will go up and they will never come down. So that always stuck in my head when I see things going up that they may not come back down. And I am being even more diligent about saving every single thing that I can, watching for prices. I pulled out my apps this weekend and looked at like my Dillon's weekly sales ads and some of those, and there just wasn't any good sales even going into this next week with it being December and close to the holiday. And I was like, wow, I am already seeing a trend here that January may be a little rough. So I'm going to continue to cook frugally, manage my house as frugally as possible, manage my heat as frugally as possible, make do, reuse things, all those things that go into saving money. Now, many of you know that behind me here, if you see the curtain, it's a holiday curtain, which is a flannel sheet. I have several of them. I use them every year, use safety pins, hang them up over my blinds on my windows for an extra layer of Christmas festive atmosphere. I absolutely love doing this. I am even thinking about cutting up some of the old flannel sheets that I have and making them into actual curtains for my living room, because the fitted sheet has gone away a long time ago, but I still have the flat sheet in really good condition. So just doing some fun things like this can make your house feel festive and save you money at the same time, and you won't feel like you're missing out on anything. So open those eyes, look around your house, see if there's things that you can share with us that are ways that we can all save money together and have a joyous holiday season. Thanks for watching today, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.